Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. I'm Julie Flagar. I'm President and CEO of Project Sleep, and we're really excited this morning to have a special guest joining us, Felicia, all the way from Thailand. Hi, Felicia.
Hello. Thank you for this opportunity. It's like 8 p.m. right now in Thailand.
Yes, 8 p.m. there, and it's 6 a.m. in Los Angeles. So, but we're just so excited for you to share your story as we lead up to World Narcolepsy Day. So, this is the 5th annual World Narcolepsy Day that we're having on September 22nd. And so we're just so excited to have some different stories from around the world as we lead up to September 22nd and World Narcolepsy Day. And so just a few quick reminders before Felicia starts sharing her story. We do these broadcasts for education and awareness purposes, but we can't give any medical advice. So if you have any questions that come up for you about your own experience from listening to Felicia, then please bring those to your doctor. And please put in some questions for Felicia into the Facebook comments. And then I'll be able to ask those questions to Felicia once she finishes her presentation. And also, please comment to share where you're listening from. It's really fun to see, especially for Felicia to see that people are listening to her story from all over the world. So please comment and share where you're watching from, and anything that she says that's resonating with you, go ahead and comment and share the video so that this can reach more people and we can help raise more awareness about narcolepsy. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Felicia to share her story. So if you want to go ahead and pull up your slides, Felicia, and I'll read your bio, okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Felicia Elisabeth is a graduate student currently living in Thailand. She was diagnosed with type 1 narcolepsy with cataplexy at age 23 after experiencing symptoms for nearly 10 years. As a speaker with Project Sleep's Rising Voices Leadership Program, Felicia shares her journey to raise awareness and reduce stigma about this neurological condition, especially in her country, Indonesia, where it's not very well known. All right, please take it away, Felicia.
Okay, thank you, Julie, for the kind introduction. So my name is Felicia Elisabeth, and I will start from me growing up. So you see, the picture in the left, it was me, like maybe 4 years old during that time. I'm a middle child. I have a younger brother and also an older sister. And that was me and my family when we were on our vacation at Bali. And since I was a kid, I love books. I love reading uh, the story of great people, especially, the like Helen Keller, Marie Curie, Florence Nightingale. They were inspired me to be like a smart woman, and also they inspired me to become a scientist. And I also you can say that I'm an active kid. I join like many activities. You see in the picture in the left, in the right, I'm sorry, that was me joining the marching band. And my family usually because of my father's job, we move a lot. And at 13 years old, I moved schools between the semesters, but I couldn't adapt. I couldn't adapt with the situation. So for the context, I live in the capital city of Jakarta, and then I need to move to another city where they speak another language. They have their own local language. They have their own culture, new academic system, and I just like couldn't adjust to it. And during that time, for me as a teenager, 13 years old teenager, it was so hard. I use nap as my coping tools, but it's just uncontrollable. I will still sleepy even though I want to stay awake. And the picture in the left is actually me during my middle school. And that picture was taken during a school event. And I still remember that it's supposed to be like a fun event. We celebrated the New Year and Christmas during that time. And we didn't have any class. We just have like some activity, student activity, we gathering it like in the school field, something like that. But um during that day I was super sleepy. The event that's supposed to be fun, I couldn't enjoy it at all because I felt like a zombie. I mean, you may think that I was like, oh, um, overreacting, but no, my mind was blank and I just like want to sleep. So I sneak in into the class just to take a nap. And actually, that was not my first time to sneak somewhere and take a nap there. But after that moment, I still believe that my sleepiness is just like others. And after that, I go to the high school. The, that was me in my high school uniforms. That point, I already got used of being called as sleepy. But one day, when we after we submit like one assignment into the teacher's room, we walk back into our class, and while walking, we like joking and just like chatting. But then I dropped to the ground while laughing, and it took me a few seconds until I could get up. My friends confused why suddenly I just like fell down. Like yeah, just like fell down, and I also confused. I don't know why my body react like that. And they thought that I was weird. I was like overreacting, but that was not the case. And the moment I realized that something off with my body. And after graduated high school, I started my diagnosis journey. At 18 years old, it was my first time to meet a neurologist. So I did a brainwave record, the EEG test, and the doctors told me that I got epilepsy. But I just like curious and asked him, is there any possibility of me having a sleep disorder? And he said that I need to go to a sleep clinic. And back then, I was living in Yogyakarta. It's not a rural area. No, no. Yogyakarta is a big city, but there was only one sleep clinic in that city. And I went there. I met a sleep specialist. I did a sleep test, and he said that I got insomnia. And I got curious again. I asked about the possibility of having narcolepsy, and he just brushed it off. He said that there is no way I could get narcolepsy because the test results show the opposite. Yeah, I mean, he just like diagnosed me with insomnia. What did I expect, right? But I asked him again why I fell, why why I I can like drop to the ground while I'm laughing, but he couldn't explain why. And I there's like one question that I asked myself, why did I why only me that experience it? And why I never seen anyone experience the same moment as me. And fast forward, I went to the college in 2016. I studied the food technology. And during my first and second year, I live in the dormitory because like of the uh, academic schedule and student activity. One night, I was so tired after all of those activity. I just want to go to sleep, but right before I closed my eyes, I saw a man right beside my bed. I mean, it was dark because I turned off the light, right? But I saw clearly a shadow, like in the picture at the center. It's a shadow of a man right beside my bed. And it was only a small space between my bed and my wardrobe. And also my dormitory is a female dormitory. Like there was no way a man could fit in that space. I was terrified. I freaked out. I suddenly just like got up and want to turn on the light. But I fell down several times when I wanted to reach out the when I want to turn on the light. And my roommate just confused because I have roommate that time and she's still awake and she was like, why am I being like that? And I told her and we agreed that we didn't want to turn off the light anymore. Like maybe several weeks or several months after that. It just it just frightening for me. And during my third year, when I did an internship in a chocolate powder factory, so I did to work like 5 days, 8 to 5, and I already tired from the work. And I was so tired that I almost never awake at night. So usually I have trouble sleeping and I will like wake up several times. But during that time, during my internship time, I almost never awake at night. But I still have the sleepiness during the day and it got more intense at certain hours, like around 10 a.m., 2 p.m. But I already did everything I could, but nothing works. I already tried to walk around the factory, drink the coffee, talk with my friend. You see in the third picture, during that year, not only my internship, but that period of year in my third year of college. Um, Caffeine doesn't work. You name it, any coffee from like the espresso to what, I don't know, like any, like caffeine doesn't work anymore for me. But I think like, oh, okay, it's okay. But that time back in my internship, the intensity of the sleepiness is so, like, it's so strong. It's just like my brain said that it's, you need to take a nap, you need to go to sleep immediately, like right now, right here. But that time I work in the lab, there's no way I will take a nap at the laboratory. Like, so I I couldn't think. I just saw that there is like one place. It's actually a storage room. So it's a place where we store the chocolate powder, and no one will go inside. So I go there. I just hide in the corner, took a nap, 10 minutes, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But that moment, I know that I need to meet another doctor, and my sleepiness is, it wasn't normal, and I need to handle my sleepiness to be able to work. After that, the pandemic hits, and I went back to the city where my parents live. I went so my so during my college, my family already moved to Tangerang. It's another city near the capital city of Jakarta. So I went back, and from there I got access to proper treatment, and I decided to start over my diagnosis journey after I graduate in 2021. But I know that the resources we need weren't little. So that time I told my parents that it will be my last time to seek for diagnosis, because they told me, you already met several neurologists, but why you still want to seek another diagnosis. So I told them that, okay, this will be my last time. At first, I used the insurance from the government, but it's complicated and it's so complex. During my journey to seek for the diagnosis using that insurance, I know that I have one, you can say that it's a privilege. It's like, it's a self-awareness, the ability to me to advocate for myself, because like the stages. So, okay, in brief, we have like 4 stages. First, we need to met the GP, and they supposed to give me some kind of medication to treat my sleepiness before I get to go to a bigger hospital. But that, in my case, they allow me because I have one book where when I write down all of my symptoms, and I told them about my condition, my clinical history, and they said, okay, we let you skip this part. You go to another hospital, a bigger hospital. In that hospital, I need to meet psychologists, psychiatrists before I met a neurologist. Then after I met the neurologist, they say that, okay, because of this history, because of the possibility having this kind of sleep disorder is, you can say it's quite high. So we let you to visit another hospital until one point when I got recommended into a national scale hospital. And in Indonesia, we call it a type 1 hospital, but they do have the sleep specialist, but they didn't have the sleep test to diagnose narcolepsy. And that moment, I decided to, okay, I will try to not using any insurance. I go back to my parents and just like, I need your help. And fortunately, they allow me to try to not using any insurance, and went to several hospitals, but then they also didn't have the sleep test to diagnose narcolepsy. Even the private, even I, one point, I just like, okay, I will try a private hospital. I will try the international hospital, but still they didn't have the facility to diagnose narcolepsy, until finally one sleep specialist, she contacted me and told me about 2 hospitals where I can meet 2 neurologists. So she told me that if you want to do this kind of task, then you need to meet these 2 neurologists. You can choose either of them, but only these 2. So I tried to meet one of them, and that was when I met my neurologist. And when I told her about my symptoms, what I already experienced until that point, she was just surprised that my experience matched all of the the symptoms of narcolepsy. So she told me that, okay, you need to perform like the sleep test. So I did, and got diagnosed with narcolepsy type 1. And like the moment I got that diagnosis, I'm not surprised, but I just felt relief and validated. So I talk a lot about narcolepsy. So narcolepsy itself is actually a chronic neurological disorder of the sleep-wake cycle, and it affects 1 in 2,000 people, and approximately, if we calculate it with that ratio, approximately more than 100,000 and 130,000 people in Indonesia have narcolepsy. And the symptoms of narcolepsy itself is vary by person, but it includes excessive daytime sleepiness, which is a period of extreme sleepiness during the day that feel comparable to how someone without narcolepsy will feel after staying awake for 48 to 72 hours. And this is what I actually feel when I have the when I feel sleepy, my mind will go blank, and you remember like the story when I told you I have the urgency to go to somewhere just to sleep. It was one example of these symptoms. And also the next symptoms will be cataplexy, and it is a striking sudden episode of muscle weakness, and it's usually triggered by strong emotions such as laughter, surprise, or anger. And the severity may vary from a slackening of the jaw or buckling of the knees to falling down. And the duration may be for a few seconds to several minutes, and the person remain fully conscious, even if they unable to speak during the episodes. And remember when I told you that the first time I experienced this is when during my high school era, and I, I can like fell down while joking with my friends. Yeah, that turns out that it was an example of a cataplexy attack. And the next thing is the hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations. And it is a visual, auditory, or tactile hallucinations upon falling asleep or waking up. And this can be frightening and confusing. And one example for this, maybe the moment when I saw a man in my bedroom. And the next symptoms is the sleep paralysis. It is the inability to move for a few seconds or minutes upon falling asleep or waking up. And it is often accompanied by hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucination. And it's important to know that people without narcolepsy can experience this hallucination and sleep paralysis. And in fact, about one third of all people experience this at some point in their life, and usually during the period of high stress or poor sleep. For people with narcolepsy, these are much more frequent and consistent over time. In my experience, I I will get sleep paralysis almost every day during college, and I guess it was due to the amount of stress at the time. And the last symptom is the disrupted nighttime sleep. And unlike public perceptions, people with narcolepsy do not sleep all the time. And the timing of sleepiness is off with narcolepsy. So one may fight sleepiness during the day, but struggle to sleep at night. And it's true. And I also experienced this until now. So I can sleep at 10 p.m. and just like found myself to be awake every 2, 3 hours later. And also remember that I told you that I got my diagnosed with insomnia, and turns out it's because these symptoms. For narcolepsy itself, there are two forms. First, the narcolepsy with cataplexy and narcolepsy without cataplexy. The recent research suggests that narcolepsy with cataplexy is caused by a lack of hypocretin, and it is a key neurotransmitter that helps sustain alertness and regulate the sleep-wake cycle. But less is known about narcolepsy without cataplexy. In my case, my main diagnosis is narcolepsy with cataplexy. For diagnosing narcolepsy, typically it includes a 24-hour sleep study, and it can divide it into two kind of tasks. For first is the nighttime portion, or we call a polysomnogram, and second is the daytime portion, and we call it multiple sleep latency task. And this task aims to record one brain waves, and the diagnosis is mainly based on how quickly and frequently one goes into rapid eye movement or REM, or we call it as dream sleep stage during this task. And that is me when I did my multi-sleep latency task. For the treatment, there is currently no cure for narcolepsy, and the treatment for symptom management will vary widely by person, but it includes first the nighttime and histamine-directed medication to decrease excessive daytime sleepiness and cataplexy. Second, the wake-promoting or stimulant medication to increase the alertness. Third, the antidepressant medication to decrease the cataplexy. And lastly is the scheduled daytime naps. And for the coping strategies, it's also very widely by person, but it includes social support such as meetup groups or social media, and also improvement in general health through sleep hygiene, diet, and fitness. For me, I'm on medication right now, and I take stimulant every day to increase my alertness. But in here, both in Indonesia and in Thailand, the option for treatment is limited. So we only have access to stimulant and antidepressant. And in it like it depends on where you live, because some city may not have the hospital to provide this kind of medication. For coping strategies, I also work on improving my general health. I try to limit the simple sugar, and I make sure that I sleep at least 6 hours at night. Other than that, I do have a scheduled daytime naps, and it's just like so important for me. It's a must. Every day, I need 10 to 20 minutes to take naps, because it helps me stay awake even if I'm not taking any medication. And I thought for narcolepsy I will get better only with medication, but it turns out that living with narcolepsy is more complex. And there are times when I need to calculate uh, my energy. And so, like, for example, when I have class here during my graduate school here, I need to think whether I can take like 10 minutes to have naps before class. And also when I told you that the option for medication here is limited, the problem is when we have the side effect, when we experience any side effects from that medication, we didn't have any option to change our medication. So it just, we need to choose whether we want to experience that kind of side effects but stay awake, or not taking any medication and struggle to stay awake. And it depends it really depends on the situation of the person. And I also lucky because I have family that supports me, and all of my closest friends are also supportive to me. But I know that there are people that don't think narcolepsy is real, that my condition is real. And I wish like more people could acknowledge the struggle of a person living with narcolepsy or maybe any other chronic condition, because you don't need to fully understand in order to have empathy or validate the struggle of someone living with narcolepsy or other chronic condition. And now, I'm studying masters at the Mahidol University in Thailand. And yeah, I'm living in Thailand right now. I'm majoring in food science for nutrition, and hopefully I could walk towards my childhood dream. You know, I want to be scientist, and now I'm working towards it to be a food scientist, right? And I also try to raise the awareness through the social media. It's not a massive movement, but I just want to give the perspective as a person living with narcolepsy, especially in Indonesia. And I also try to create a community with my other friends. So I got a chance to connect with other Indonesians that have narcolepsy, and we create a support group. It's still small, but I believe that it's a good beginning, and hopefully we could create the safe environment that we want for people living in narcolepsy in Indonesia. And raising awareness is so important for narcolepsy because be, because of low awareness, even among physicians, and the misperceptions. There is an average of 8 to 15 years between narcolepsy symptom onset and the diagnosis. And it is estimated that the majority of people with narcolepsy are currently undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. And the common misdiagnosis, it includes the epilepsy, depression, and schizophrenia. In my experience, I I need 10 years to get a proper diagnosis, and I also experienced to being misdiagnosed with insomnia and also epilepsy. And I want to say that people may see someone with narcolepsy as weird or lazy because narcolepsy itself is an invisible condition, and it makes many people hesitate to tell others about their condition. But that's why I want to share my story right like tonight, and I hope that my story will bring some insight to reduce the stigma surrounding narcolepsy, especially in Indonesia itself. And yeah, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening to my story.
Yay! Great job, Felicia. Thank you so, so much for sharing. It is so incredible to hear your story. Everything that you've been through is just so much, to get a diagnosis, everything, all the battle that you had to go through to even get to the right doctors and navigate the healthcare system there. It's so much, and I'm just like so grateful for you for sharing today so that we can be better educated about different medical systems, and just so in awe of you for going through it, and so grateful that you are raising your voice so that more people can get a diagnosis. So I just that was just incredible to hear. I'm having a little bit of cataplexy myself, because kind of like all those positive emotions of hearing your story. So yeah, you just I was just wanted to start with asking you a question. And folks, if you have any questions for Felicia, send them in the comments on Facebook. I just wanted to start by asking you how you got connected with Project Sleep and the Rising Voices program.
So actually, I already did like some research about narcolepsy since high school. So I already know about like the Project Sleep. I already listen and watch many videos like the sharing story like this. And I really like resonate about what they experience, and I I I I mean like through the videos of like Project Sleep and the Rising Voices, I I think it's also like why I could get like the proper diagnosis right now, and that's why after I got diagnosed like right away, I got diagnosed on November I think, and then on 2022 I saw that there is like open registration for the Rising Voices program, and I just like registered for it and they accepted me. So I'm also like grateful for all of, I mean like your program is so helpful for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to hear, because sometimes it feels like, oh, are we really reaching a lot of people, you know? And to know that you got to see our videos even before you were diagnosed, like, it just continues to make it feel so worth it that we do this, you know? And now your video will be a resource for someone else, you know, to know that they're not alone and hopefully help them get diagnosed. So, yeah, so we have so many comments in here of people saying, thank you for sharing your story. I hope a lot of people can acknowledge more about narcolepsy. You're awesome, that you're so brave. Go Felicia. So if you guys have any questions for Felicia too, please send those over. So I was kind of curious about, let's see. Here's a question. And also someone from Indonesia, a person with narcolepsy. I wanted to ask, what is your next step to enhance narcolepsy in Asia? So any kind of future plans for raising more awareness?
Um, I mean, I don't have that like big thoughts about what do I want. I mean, like I I I do what I can do here. Not really Asia, but I think for the Southeast Asia itself, not many people know about narcolepsy. And right now, I try to, as I mentioned before, that we try to create a support group in Indonesia and also here in Thailand. No, I don't make any support group here, but I try to discuss with my doctor because yeah, that's what I can do right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. And I also think, you know, I think awareness is often, people think there's going to be one big thing, but all the little efforts are what really awareness is made of. So every time you talk to a doctor or anytime you give this presentation, those are big things. Those are big steps, you know? So just, yeah, I think you're going to end up impacting a lot of people. So, and thank you.
Hopefully.
Yes, you will. I know it. And so I was curious a little bit more about the support group in Indonesia and, you know, how has that been? Because how hard it was for you to get a diagnosis, I'd imagine not a lot of people make it to a diagnosis. And so if there's not many people with a diagnosis, how do you find each other? And what has it been like to share stories together?
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, like that's true. Here, I mean not here. Back then, back in Indonesia, the access to get proper diagnosis is so difficult, and we 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 can connect with each other because uh they they also like look for some groups that have uh like wait, I got distracted. Okay. So oh one I got what connect with one person that we get connected in I'm not sure, it's also a so not social media, but it is a community for rare disease. And funny enough, here in Indonesia I tried to join a community for rare disease, and they said that in Indonesia narcolepsy is not a rare disease. So yeah, they didn't approve me. So okay, I tried I talked uh to my friend, and he said that for his case he have to he have two condition, and hi- his condition the his I mean like the other condition that he had got him to like a support group, like support community. So he already joined a community for the other condition that he had. But for me, I mean like I don't know. Then we talked, and he said that, oh, I met another person, and then okay, we can just like create a group, just a small group. It's okay. And we talked in that group. We said that we agree that proper diagnosis is just like a light for us. So we called our group as Lumiere, like you know the light in the Beauty and the Beast, like Lumiere, like because proper diagnosis is just like a light for us, because we know that we have condition, and it's not about us. It's not about we don't have any capability. I mean, yeah. And the thing is, we have right now 5 people, and I think 4 of them or 3 of them have a same doctor. So they got diagnosed with the same doctor, and only me, I have another doctor. And because of my journey, and I know that in Jakarta itself, Jakarta is the capital city. So it's the biggest. I think it's the metropolitan, like the center of Indonesia. And in Jakarta, it's only 2 hospital, and that's true. That's true. It's so hard to meet another people with narcolepsy here. And I just don't know why yeah.
Yeah, we have another question here from someone else in Indonesia, asking how to possibly connect with your community. So, I know that Felicia is on Instagram, so maybe that's a good place to start if they want to connect with you to join, possibly. Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, sure. You can DM me, like directly message to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we can put Felicia's Instagram into the chat here. Is that okay? And then someone can reach out to you there on Instagram?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. And so I love that title, the Lumiere. And I was wondering, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, and it's not necessarily about your narcolepsy, but that you love musicals, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And we might love the same musical.
Yeah. I love Defying Gravity so much. It brings so much positivity. Yeah.
From Wicked, right?
Yeah, from Wicked. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
Well, I think that message is so true to what you're trying to do, you know, of like defying gravity and standing up and saying I'm a person with an invisible illness, and it's real. So I'm so glad that your family and friends are supportive as well. That's but I thought that was a really important message to say, you know, some people don't think it's real. That's same here, you know, in the US too. So it's just so important what you're doing. Let's see. I don't see any other questions here on Facebook. And is there anything else that you wanted to mention that maybe you know, had forgotten or anything?
Um, Not really, but actually, after I got diagnosed, I picture myself as a butterfly, because not having diagnosis is not only just okay, I have this diagnosis, no, but before that, I want I try to explain to people when they ask me, "Oh, why do you like feel sleepy all the time?" And they will like ask me every day. I mean, having diagnosis is so important, and never judge people for them to like having to want to have like a proper diagnosis, because it happens to me that people may think that, oh, why do you like forced to have, like you push your idea that you have this condition. No, I'm the expert of, I mean, like, I live with these conditions. I know that something off, and I try to bring up the discussion. I try to ask question, but they just like brush it off. And I think it's okay if you want to like push. I mean, like, yeah, I think it's okay to think that, okay, I think it's not the condition, because you live with this condition. You live with narcolepsy, and self-awareness is so important for this condition, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that that's sort of, that sounds like maybe that's a general cultural thing, or, you know, I don't know, like if people just sort of don't how do you say it? They kind of like don't feel like a lot of invisible illnesses, maybe people are kind of like not really understanding, or do you think that awareness is shifting towards understanding more invisible illness, chronic illness, mental health? And 'cause I know here in America, there's a lot more conversation about mental health and how important that is. And that, you know, that like different conditions in the mental health space are real and not fake, and people aren't making it up. And so I'm hoping, you know, that that conversation moves to more like the invisible illness and narcolepsy, that people realize that those things also are really important. So, you know, do you think that that's sort of like just in general that people are hesitant to take, you know, next steps um, and take it and think these things are real?
um and like, based on my experience, they didn't think my condition is real, because they only see the surface, like only like a brief moment of it. Yeah, I think that's really important, that to know that what other people say, they only see that on the surface, from the surface. And you you know yourself better than them. So yeah, I'm not sure about the cultural thing. I think it's not, but it's because people didn't experience it. People didn't see the whole picture, the like the whole experience. They only judge it from like the surface. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful way of putting it. So thank you so, so much, Felicia. Thank you. It's so cool to hear your story and know that, you know, here we are together, but we're around the world. And technology is so amazing to connect us and make it possible that you know, we're here together from Los Angeles to Thailand, and just so excited that we have your voice in, you know, in Asia and South Asia, and that now, you know, we can have more people from your area too be speakers. So yeah, thank you again. And please, everybody, share this video on your Facebook, and we'll get this on YouTube as well, so that we can keep reaching more people and more people can hear about Felicia's story. So I'll say good night to you, Felicia, in Thailand. And thank you, everybody, and have a good day or evening wherever you are. All right. Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy World Narcolepsy Day coming up. Bye for now.